lived my life wrong, and I don't want this to happen to you. If you listen and take evasive action, I can help you change your future.
We all want to succeed, right? So the question that we got to ask ourselves is what success is to us, what success is to you. Maybe it's a healthy family. Maybe it's a happy marriage. Maybe it's to help others, to be famous, to be spiritually sound, to leave the world a little bit better place than you found it.
What do you want to be remembered for? What can you do for others to make the world a better place? What is your true purpose on this earth? We are all dying, but only a small select few are truly living.
If there is no joy when you wake up in the morning, if you dread the sound of the alarm clock going off, if you have the thought in your head that there has got to be more to life than this, you know what you should do? You should stop doing whatever it is you're doing.
You can step out of the shadows into the light. You are meant for greatness. You are meant for more than just what you do for a living. You are an eternal being, meant to inspire and help the world.
If you want to achieve those results, you've got to be very intentional about every moment. And obviously there were days where I would relax and just hang out as well, but the more focused, the easier the opportunity to achieve.
If you push people and ask them what they want, they're going to tell you that they want to be happy. But nobody really talks that next step, which is what is the fundamental building block to happiness. That keystone brick to happiness is progress.
The following few moments may very well change your life. And I wish someone had told me this when I was your age.
I tell you this, all you see in your world is the outcome of your idea about it.
Pick a goal, whatever it is. I want you to clearly imagine it. Get it so clear in your mind that it's like you're living it in reality. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like?
If you can think of it, you can do it. That's the human condition. If we can imagine it, we can do it.
Your subconscious mind is working for you. It's like a slave for you, working and grinding and working and grinding and working and grinding to help you get to your objective. Thousands and thousands of little decisions. You didn't even know why you made them. They were made because, one, you had a clear picture in your mind. Two, your subconscious brain went to work without you even realizing it. And three, step by step, inch by inch, you moved closer to your objective until you attained it.
The only way to move forward on this is to ask yourself, what would happen if everything I thought was wrong was actually right?
We've got to change ourselves. We've got to build a new image, a picture in our mind. We've got to see ourselves the way we want to be, and then we have to live with it. You go to the gym, work out, that's what you do. You build a picture how you want to see this arm, and you build that picture, and then you build the body. Well, you build the life in your mind. Take your pen and write out how you want to live. And always start by writing, I'm so happy and grateful now that. And the second you write it, you've got it intellectually. The moment you impress it upon your emotional mind, you've got it emotionally. And it's only a period of time till it manifests on the physical plane.
I think the challenge is a lot of people don't know what their vision is. They don't know exactly what they want. They think they know, but they haven't really written it down. They haven't told the world, or at least their close network of friends. They're just like, well, I'm supposed to have a good job, or I'm supposed to be doing something inspiring, but they're not specifically saying it and specifically being intentional about it. And I'm very specific with my vision, and that allows me to stay grounded because I know here's the direction I want to go. Now, it's not going to be a straight line. It would be great if it was, but no matter what comes my way, I'm able to say yes or no, or able to dictate where my energy goes because of the vision.
As soon as I get it clearly in my mind, it's not long before that thing becomes a reality. Now, it's not a magic trick, okay? You can't just sit at home and imagine a Lamborghini and it pulls up into the driveway and somebody gives you the keys. It's not a magic trick like that. If you continue with action, you'll start to get results from those actions. Because it's not just in the doing once, it's the doing and then refining, doing again and then refining. Work, getting better every single day. Understanding that you can't look good and get better at the same time. Being willing to be uncomfortable, being willing to get outside of your comfort zone, being willing to go from a tomorrow person to a right now person.
You can change today if you redefine what success is to you. You can transform your damaged relationships and build new ones.
You need to understand that these 31 days in August, is exactly when you triple down, when you 4X, 5X down in your hustle. While everybody's at the pool drinking rosé, this is when you put in the grinding hours and get ready for your master plan.
You can become the best parent possible at any age, even 86. But don't wait until then. You'll always be able to make more money, but you cannot make more time.
You never get better if you're not willing to put in the time. And basketball is very similar to the game of life. There's going to be ups and downs. Sometimes you may turn the ball over 7 times in a row. But if you put in the work and you constantly put in the work, you can't allow that one mistake to go into the next play. If you allow 7 turnovers to go into my next possession with the basketball or that next possession in life, if you allow that divorce or if you allow that passing away of somebody or that loss of a career to go into the next 8 plays, you'll have another 8 turnovers. You have to be willing to say, that was back there, that happened, but it doesn't mean it needs to happen now.
I tell people all the time to dream the dream. Because your dreams like your GPS towards your success. It's your dreams are what allows you to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's what gives you motivation, determination, and you go for that. And you go for that dream. You reach out and you work hard, because people tell other people what they can't do. So they tell you can't do that, and a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, we believe them. But they're telling you what they can't do. Don't let them tell you what you can't do.
Here's the thing. People do a lot of talking, and one side of proclaiming what you're going to do is very good. Telling the world what you're about to do, telling them something that you haven't done yet. That's a very healthy thing because it will hold you accountable to those statements. But don't get stuck there. Don't stay in tomorrow. You've got to, at some point, move from tomorrow to right now. Move from the action that you're going to do on Monday to right now. Not even today, because that gives you all the time until the end of the day.
Life's not easy. It is not. Don't try to make it that way. Life's not fair. It never was. It isn't now, and it won't ever be. Do not fall into the trap, the entitlement trap, of feeling like you're a victim. You are not. Get over it and get on with it. And yes, most things are more rewarding when you break a sweat to get them.
And never give up, regardless of how challenging your destiny in life will be. The world really needs you now more than ever.
I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. I had a long haul from where I came from to here, but here we are. Everybody can. Courage is the key to life itself. There are a lot of people who are born in situations where they say, I'll never get out of this, so they won't. I say to people who say, well, I would like to have done so and so and so. So you could have done it. So, well, I couldn't get out of here. Man, the bus runs every day.
No. Sky is not the limit. It is only the beginning. Lift off.
You will be more successful if you make decisions based upon what is going to feed your soul, make you feel valued, validated, have you waking up in the morning and racing to work, whatever it might be. And I can tell you, after a short amount of time, money will not be enough.
Thank you very much. This is, I guess, what you would call a soft launch of a production. This is something I've been wanting to do, and some health issues have gotten in the way. Before I go there, Jim had mentioned a team that we had together, and two of those participants are here today. One is Danny in the back there, and my son Ryan, who's really helping me out big time. They were, it wasn't the Bad News Bears, but it was pretty close to a bunch of kids running all over the place. And what was great about them, they wanted to compete. You took what they gave you, you didn't try to make them something that they weren't, and you took the best out of them and you kept throwing that at them, Keep acknowledging what they had as far as a skill set. There were times we had to break it down and say we need to do this differently, we need to do that differently. But come game day, these kids just love to play. And that is what I'm more proud of than anything else, is that kids played for me and they couldn't wait to get to the field. They had a blast, whether they win or lose, and just matter of factly, they won a lot. So that, as you know, always helps when you're winning. But these guys were a great bunch of kids. It was a very special team that we took on. And I guess at that time I started to implement some of these principles that Jim had mentioned a little while ago. The reason I'm talking is because I'm terrible at being the light person because I shut the TV off. So that is not my strength, but that's how we started out. See, these are some of the glitches in this soft launch. I'm gonna go back to something that happened in my past, which Jim had mentioned, and it was about, I guess it started in high school, really, and at 15 years old, I had this thing about me. I was very inquisitive of how things worked. Why does that happen? Why is that person successful? Why is that, why do they have cancer or whatever? And it was kind of like the sawdust in the sleeves to a carpenter. You know what you want to do after that, whether you hear music, you want to be a musician, or whatever. So I decided, you know what, our high school had a psychology course, so I took that psychology course, and the thing I knew right away, man, I love being here. And I know in high school it's like, oh my God, another 45 minutes of class, and when's the bell gonna ring? And this was a class that I just loved everything about what I was learning. I didn't even care about a grade. And I guess that was the beginning of understanding about what our passion is. So at a very early age, I kind of knew where I was going, but I was already playing ball, and I was at a local high school, and I'll mention it because it's local here. It's Father Judge High School. And I was a pretty good athlete. I played 3 sports. And at the end, I was given the John Bentz Award, Sergeant John Bentz Award for the outstanding athlete of the school. And, as a high school kid, you're kind of going through it. Okay, this is great. This is nice. You get a plaque and everything. And it wasn't until I went back to Father Judge and saw the memorial out in front of the school, and some of you are aware of this. Sergeant John Bentz was the first student at Father Judge to be killed in the Vietnam War. And since that time, there were 26 other students that were killed during this war. So in total, Father Judge has the bad reputation of having 27 boys die in the Vietnam War. So at the same point, though, it brings the high school together and a camaraderie that there are kids, and you would be surprised when you leave your high school, wherever you go, and I know we got kids from Deptford and Friends Central and such, and Shipley, don't want to leave that out, and Council Rock North, I might as well go through all of them. There's a pride there of where you came from, and it's your teammates, it's the guys you grew up with. And that'll stay with you forever. When you show up at something, it'll be a tie back to that time. So fast forward, I was given a scholarship to Villanova University. Now I had an opportunity to go with the Los Angeles Dodgers out of high school. I was a pretty good shortstop. I was already enrolled at Textile, which is now Philadelphia University. as the #1 soccer school in Division I in the country. Barry Bardo was the coach, and he was the head coach of what our pro team at the time was called the Philadelphia Atoms. So I was all set to go until Villanova saw me. Well, they knew I kicked the football, but when I came into the All-Star game, all those plans of doing anything else went away when they said, we're going to give you a full ride to come kick for us. We want you. You fit in perfectly with our program. So I took it, and I said, this is great. On the second game of the year, freshman year, as I started, I was put in a position with 6 seconds left in the game, and I had to go win the game with a field goal. I can't tell you what was going through my mind as far as how I felt about, if I make this is a really cool thing. What's interesting, it never entered my mind if I missed it. It never did. And I think that's the reason that when I did kick, and it was successful, and we won the game, I think it was against the Richmond Spiders, whatever, Division I football, I never let a negative thought move in. Didn't mean I didn't catch myself at times with some negative thinking, but I never let that settle within myself. Going to my senior year at Villanova, preseason All-American, I'm looking at the pros as far as, this is my next venture. And Villanova drops intercollegiate football for a number of different reasons, which I'm not going to go into here. So at that point, I'm like, okay, this is maybe a little adversity, but I'm going to look past it. I find a new home in East Carolina University, which is on the eastern side of North Carolina. And the people were great. And little did I know, I felt that I was called to go there. So while I'm there in my senior year, my last year, we were given a routine physical, and the doctors had found a lump underneath my arm. Actually, I told them there was a lump underneath my arm. And as they went to do the biopsy, it was revealed that I had Hodgkin's disease, which is a potentially fatal lymphatic form of cancer. So as we went through this, the doctors were telling me, well, this is the treatment. We have to take your spleen out. You're done football. And some other things they were telling me. You're going to have to get chemotherapy, radiation. And there was just something inside of me, from all my training, from all my coaches, from my parents. There was a still voice inside of me that says, don't you do that. Don't you do that. No, I'm not telling you not to listen to doctor advice, but I'm telling you what had happened to me. So I challenged the doctors, and I challenged the whole alumni of the school. There was the president of the school at meetings. There was the head coaching staff. Alumni people were there. And I told them I was not going to do it, that I was going to play pro football, I was going to play college football, and then go on to the pros, because that's what I felt like I wanted to do. Well, they had eventually found a way to get around taking my spleen out. Now, the course of action at that time, what you would say is barbaric. Okay, they were taking biopsies all the time, lymphangiograms, where they would cut incisions on the insteps of both of your feet to send dye into your system to find where the cells were, and on and on and on. So during this process, I was getting sick. They were taking me to the hospital to get my treatments every day. And it was extremely difficult to do what I set out to do. But there was a small, powerful voice inside of me that said, just keep going, keep going. You'll get through it. And yes, there were difficult times where I was lost, to the point that I was rushed to the hospital, and with a blood pressure of 60/40, which most of you probably know is not a very good thing. And the doctor said to me, Chuck, when those numbers meet, you're not around anymore. So I got the idea. Through it all, I made it through the season. A lot of adversity had happened, but I knew what I was meant to do. And I kept that goal in mind until I transferred back to Villanova, and the draft is coming up, and I get something called shingles. And some of you, maybe the older folks here, are familiar with shingles. and it affects the nerves of your body. Well, because of where they radiated me, I had the worst case of shingles that my doctor has seen in 20 years. So we're just not catching a break at this point. So as they're treating me for shingles, I eventually recover, and just right before the draft, I have a workout with the Boston Patriots. I know you're going to say New England. They became the New England Patriots. And at that time, Howie Long was at school with me, and he's working out for the Eagles and Dick Vermeil. So I had a pretty good day. I didn't have the strength that I wanted to have, and lo and behold, I didn't get drafted after all this hype that this was a no-brainer. I still had an ambition to play professional football, but I pulled off the subject and I just went to play semi-professional football just because I loved playing it. No other glamour than heading back out with the guys afterwards. That's all there was to this. So as we went along, I one day, just sitting around my apartment, got a phone call from the Memphis Showboats, and it's Pepper Rogers. Pepper Rogers was a big coach out at UCLA, and he was coaching the Showboats, which was the United States Football League. And for the older folks here, we had the Philadelphia Stars representing Philadelphia. And it was in that professional league where Herschel Walker went. That's where Jim Kelly went. That's where Steve Young went. So it was a pretty prominent league, and it really threatened the NFL. Excuse me. So in 1985, I flew down there, and I made the team. And lo and behold, that week, I'm in the game, and we're on national television on ESPN. And Dan Dierdorf was doing his first game, and I was able to get my first points as a professional kicker. I had a field goal and 2 extra points. When that was over and I had my cup of coffee in professional football, which I wanted, there was almost like a release for me that said it didn't matter as much anymore. There was a deeper thing, and we go back to the thing in high school that was really inside of me. Like, I wanted to understand why things would happen. It's just a part of me, and that's why I became a psych major at Villanova. So fast forward to the year 2008. I'm running on the track, and I pass out. And apparently I got back up, and there was 2 other people around the track that were asking me, "You okay? You okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I feel okay. I just passed out. I didn't have enough carbs or whatever excuse I gave." And they said, "All right, well, go get checked out." And I wasn't okay. I went back to my car. My whole face was covered in blood. I didn't realize when I went down, I smashed my head on the ground. So I'm like, uh-oh. Lo and behold, the doctor said we did the echo and everything, and your heart's not working. It was revealed that my aortic valve stopped working. The doctors had said this is a result of the radiation treatments that I received back when I received them. I'm like, okay, so I'm still dealing with this now. So the doctors and University of Pennsylvania, everyone has different stories, but for me, they were fantastic. They saved my life. So they replaced the valve with a big titanium valve, and I said, give me a big one because I'm an athlete and I want to keep playing. So they said, all right, you got it. So this thing in the elevator, you can hear it clang, actually. And my daughter, being the comedian that she is, when you think you got it all together, you're in the elevator, and it's quiet in the elevator, and she hears this clicking, ting, 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 and she says, "What is that?" I said, "That's my valve." And she starts yelling, "Freak, freak, freak!" And that's and Ryan will attest, that's her disposition. She's a nurse now at Jefferson. So we got through that, and the recovery of open heart surgery. And a couple years ago, something similar happened. I couldn't breathe again. And here we are, I'm back at the University of Penn, and this time I have 2 arteries clogged. The 2 arteries are clogged are up against the heart wall. And this was a difficult procedure because they had come in and say, this is a really dangerous thing we're doing. It's still only one time that I think I really saw my life ending, where I started to fill up, and I was like, I'm not going to see my kids anymore. It's the first thing that came to my mind. So what we're going to, they said, well, maybe we just do a double bypass. And I said, no, we can't do that because he was treated with radiation. The arteries may not hold. So let's send him down to the cath lab. Let's drill it. Let's drill the calcium out of the arteries. They said, we can't do that. It's next to the heart wall. He needs to be in the OR. So for the first time in Pennsylvania history, they brought the OR team into the catheter lab, put me on what they call ECMO, if anybody has any medical background, where the machine is beating your heart, because I needed to be totally knocked out. Well, the only thing I remember hearing when I came in, I was just waking up, I saw the nurses and the doctors high-fiving each other. I'm like, this has got to be good. This has got to be about me. So apparently it worked. And I'm like, this is fantastic. They put the stent in, and I'm feeling it took a little time for recovery, but we went on. About 9 months later, I'm feeling the same thing again. I go back. They say the stent's clogged. I was like, all right. So they re-stented the stent to reopen it again. And when I'm on medicine to make sure the stents don't clog again. Lo and behold, it happens again. They said, we cannot triple stent you. The options are the double bypass surgery at this point. We're going to send you down to Washington anyway to do a new therapy they're doing called brachytherapy. But we suggest that in order for you to survive, you need a new heart. And I haven't talked about this because there's an emotional charge for me with this. And I was given the referral to go down to Temple Hospital because they are the ones that do the heart transplants that for people that have had mantle radiation like I did. Penn doesn't even touch it because it's so risky. Lo and behold, I get to Temple, and for whatever reason, and I now know what the reason was, that insurance doesn't work with the procedure that you need done. I left there, and I've done some research on my own because when you get sick now, the modern era, you can go look up anything, and you're actually smarter than your own doctor at some point. So as I go, and I'm starting to learn, which today is called red ops, I started to learn how my mind creates proteins that either helps my body survive or creates illness. Doesn't mean the medication wasn't working, but in my case, it wasn't working. So after doing more research, and I go down to the clinic down in Washington, and the doctor is doing this therapy where they insert a radioactive capsule inside the stent. They back away from the table when they're treating me, and for 5 minutes, I'm getting radiated again inside the stent to blow out all the stenosis. But the interesting thing was, when I started this Red Ops program, and I started my meditations, and I started cleaning things up in my mind, something that probably happened a long time ago that was in my unconscious mind, doctor says, this is strange. Every time your artery's clogged, they both clog. In this case, only one's clogged. The other one's totally clear. And I had a little hope that it's working. It's working. That's what went through my mind. So he radiated to one side. And he says, listen, I'm not going to touch the other one because I can only do this twice to every artery or every stent. So when I went back, I thought, that's great news. It's working. I go back to my hospital appointment this April. And at this point, the doctor is expecting me to say, let's get the heart transplant. We got to get it done. I made my mind up. I didn't want that. That is not how I want to live. As you know, your body rejects a new set of cells in your body instantly because they're not your cells. They see it as an invasion. And now you're on medicines that lowers your immune system, and on and on and on we go. So I go back in April, and I'm feeling great. I'm on the treadmill, and they're doing their EEG, and they're hooking me up, and I'm walking the hallways, and how fast can I do that? And she goes, you're not going to believe it, but you are stone cold normal. How are you doing this? There is no way you should be normal based on your history. I said, well, you're not going to believe this, but I had to think out of the box, and I had to try something different, and I had to believe in it. And I'm going to talk about Bruce Lipton, the biology of belief. So as I left the hospital, I said, I got this. I got this. There's been a few hiccups along the way, but I got this. I have been religiously practicing Red Ops every day. And I, because of my condition, did it a long time. I would do it an hour in the morning. I'd do it an hour in the afternoon. I'd do an hour at night. You don't necessarily have to do that, but that's what I felt I needed to do. For whatever reason, there's tapes running in your head, okay? And on your tables, you're going to see a frequency mode, okay? And on that frequency mode is basically, right now, we're in pretty much a relaxed beta state, okay? When you're young, and even in your mother's womb, you're actually taking in information, and you're at a lower cycle rate, okay, called alpha and theta. So the first 6 years of your life, all you're doing is gathering information. You're looking at your world. You're not offering a lot. Early on, you're sleeping most of the time. But as you're getting to age 6, you're gathering information. And then eventually you come out of that and you revisit that later on in your life when you go to sleep at night or you start to meditate and things like that. So this is the intellectual side of Red Ops. You heard the emotional side a little bit earlier. And my job here is I don't want to motivate you. I want to inspire you. Like I hope I inspired myself through this information that I would be up at 3 o'clock in the morning on the internet trying to find out, not only about me, but how do I make my athletes better? The kids that come see me. Someone has a mechanical flaw. Other than what I know, if I can't get it right there, I'm on that computer that night trying to figure it out. That is who I am. That is what I do. So as I'm hearing all this information that's creating this Red Ops program for me, the Bruce Lipton character, is he still up there? Good. He's a cell biologist. And this was the beginning of my understanding of all this. And is any science people here? Anybody kind of knows cell biology? No? Okay, anyway. In a cell, okay, the heart of a cell is the nucleus. I don't know if you remember this back in high school. Maybe you don't. When you remove the nucleus, that's the brain of the cell. The cell should die, right? Well, he was one of the original STEM research scientists that started trying to say, wait a minute, something's wrong here. We're taking the nucleus out, and the cell is still living on past 2 months. How is that happening? So they took the nucleus, and they put it in this, what they call a linear accelerator. And this linear accelerator measures energy, tells you what's the smallest particle of energy, not the atom. And then quantum physics entered in, and they said, no, we have quarks and all this other stuff. Well, when this atom goes into the linear accelerator, and they open it up to see what's the smallest energy particle, it's nothing. There's nothing there. Well, wait a minute. Something had to create the particle. Enter Joe Dispenza. Joe came to Philadelphia, and I've been reading his stuff. Joe is a neuroscientist. And he has done so many of these things where he is taking people with Crohn's disease, heart disease, lupus, high blood pressure, you name it. And they're starting to understand how the body works. And they're starting to heal themselves. This is not some guru, loincloth, Eastern culture. This is what's happening right here in America and in other places in the world. This is the thing that's the chemical companies do not want you to know. That big business knows that if they can keep you controlled, they got you until we take our power back. And that's what I try to tell every one of our athletes. Take your power back. You are responsible for you, okay? No external circumstances make you who you are. What you need to do is look inside and say, why am I in these circumstances? What am I thinking about that's putting me in these circumstances? So the blame game's done at that point, okay? We're totally accountable, okay? Now, we're not to blame for this, but this is how we've been schooled all our life. So I truly believe, going back into my childhood, somewhere along the way, I came upon something that was win at all costs. I was an athlete, right? Get over it, get around it, do something, pull them, do whatever. And I had to change that mindset. Doesn't mean you still can't compete the same way. As a matter of fact, I think Mike Trout, who we signed with the Angels, is one of those living examples. I haven't talked to Mike tons, but I've talked to him on 3 occasions. Every time I spoke with him, it was the same thing. I'm just passionate about what I do. He's having a blast. He works his butt off because he's got a vision of what he wants to do. And that vision is so tied into him, but it's also tied in to the frequency that is on those papers in front of you. And those frequencies are listed as far as emotions or feelings. So you'll see where it goes all the way from depression, and the highest one that we now know, the highest emotion that we now know is compassion. And when you take the word compassion, we don't use it the way the rest of the world uses it. Compassion comes under the heading of power, forgiveness, love, grace. That's compassion. Well, I truly believe, no matter what the future holds, that right now, Mike Trout is in one of those higher levels of passion, of gratitude, of appreciation. So when I went to do my Red Ops program, a guy like Joe Dispenza comes along, and I go to his conference, and he shows me how to do it. He understands my problem. And he says, somewhere along the way, your brain is producing chemicals which is not allowing your arteries to stay clear, your stents to stay clear. So let's change the energy that your brain is producing so that we don't have to come back down this way again. We know the proteins that you're producing is taking care of your body. Okay, pretty good. So we go do this meditation, and Joe and all these scientists are coming together now realizing this. So as we're meditating, and right before we're meditating, Joe says, science is demystifying the mystical. Because before, when we went from this Newtonian way of thinking that everything is concrete, we now know everything's energy. And that's Albert Einstein, and that's on your sheet. So as we move further along, as they're demystifying the mystical, Joe is doing brain scans of people who have these diseases: lupus, cancer, hypertension, ulcers, back pain. Joe himself healed himself. So as we're moving into this field of interest, Joe is showing on the brain scans, and on a brain scan you'll have, it'll light up in different colors about where the stress hormones are, what's going on in the brain. And after we do what I now call Red Ops, you see the brain scans after 1 treatment, 2 treatment, 3 treatment, 4 treatments. You see how the brain begins to clear. How all the stress hormone, cortisol. People that cannot lose weight know all about cortisol. Okay? It is the stress hormone. So my question here is, if stress creates disease, okay, if your thoughts combined with a powerful emotion creates a feeling, can the feeling If it's bad, yes, create disease. But if the feeling is a positive one, a good one, can it create success? Can it create health? And the answer is yes, it can. I'm the living proof of that. Not only me, but numerous others. And the only reason I know of them more is because this has been my study work for the past couple years. So what I'm going to ask you to do today, I would, and I need your best effort here. So not to spin off a movie, but I'm asking you to open your minds, and would you give me your best when I ask you to do this? So can I get that from you? Will you give me your best? Okay. Because I want to introduce you to the divine. I want to get you into the place, I'd like to lead you into the place of the divine, where you're meeting this energy, where all worlds are formed. Okay? So as we're doing this, and we're talking about, in particular, athletes, not just to mention good health. So if your attitude, your feelings about who you are can make you healthy, where you're controlling your own environment now, can you put the same thoughts into what you want to achieve in life? And the answer is absolutely yes. But there's a process which I cannot even begin to cover in 2 hours, let alone talking for 45 minutes. There is a process, and my goal here is to eventually, and it will happen, as I usually try to make everything happen, but I've learned it's not me making it, it's allowing the divine to create it, to download the thoughts to me. This will eventually be a weekend seminar, and we'll be at some exotic place, and it'll be very enjoyable. And that is where we will get to. This is our humble beginnings launching this program. So what I like to do is I'm going to put, you got the next thing? Did Joe Madden come up? Okay, here you go. Yeah. Okay, that Joe, we have that in there. Joe, and if you guys don't know, I spent 12 years with the Angels now. Mike Soch, who's the head coach, brought me in, and I just wanted to get back into pro ball, and I wanted to scout, obviously. So I go back in, and the bench coach for the Los Angeles Angels, Joe Madden. So other than going out and spending time with Mike Socha out to eat twice a week, and Joe Madden twice a week, I've also had the pleasure of meeting Buddy Black, who was the Padres. I forget, where is he at? The Brewers? I can't remember. He's the pitching coach now or the head coach now for somebody. I got the greatest minds around me right now. All we're doing is talk. Mickey Hatcher for hitting. All we're doing is talking baseball. So, and as I'm going through this whole change in my life, Joe eventually, other than going to the Tampa Bay Rays, goes to Chicago Cubs and wins a World Series. Before the World Series, before that year, the reporters are saying, what about the Chicago Cubs curse? What about the curse? All these years, I don't know how many years it was, you can't win it. What do you think is going to change this year? This was Joe's comment. I don't vibrate on that frequency. He's got it. He gets it. This is why he brings the mariachi bands in. He knows that his players play better when they're inspired. You don't need to beat them down into the ground. They need to be inspired. That's when you get the best out of your employees. That's when you get the best out of your athletes, when you're inspired. Doesn't mean you don't set limits, because as a coach, I've been there numerous times. I got to set limits. Okay, we're going to run this because I know it's good and that's going to help our team. And if you don't run that, Danny Sims, guy coach, I said, Dan, go sit on the log if you don't want to run. But I knew Danny every Sunday would show up just like Ryan and give me his best for that game. Wasn't the best practice player, but man, when he showed up on Sunday, I had a thoroughbred out there. I knew I had somebody I could rely on. And it's not because I sat him on the log, it's because hopefully I inspired these guys in some way to be their best for that day. Okay? So if we could go to, still doing pretty good. This is a short clip, and if anybody's been involved with drugs, alcohol, codependency, whatever. These are the neuron, this is a neuron connection in your brain. So from an athletic perspective, if I got a pitcher and he's having a difficult, and he's older especially, this happens more as you get older because up until the age of 6, everything's being wired in. And by the age of, some people say 35, other people say early, teenager, you are pretty much who you are, okay? And in order to change who you are is only 5% of your conscious thought. 95% of who you are is in your unconscious thought. Unfortunately, the unconscious thought is just programs running. They're running over and over again. You're driving in your car. You're putting the music on. God forbid you're on your cell phone when you're, so I'm putting that out there right now. No cell phones while driving. You're on your cell phone. You're talking to somebody. You're thinking about lunch later on. Who's driving the car? Your unconscious mind's driving it. Similar to if I say, can everybody, let's take the older crew. When's the last time you've been on a bicycle? While. But if I said, if you got back on a bicycle, do you think you can do it? You'd probably say, yeah, I can do it. It might be a little rickety, but I can do it. Why? Your unconscious brain knows the repetitions. It knows how to do it. Okay? So when you get an athlete and you get up here and the neurons start sewing together, okay, they become hardwired. So this is where the motivation part of sports meets the science part. So that's just a snapshot on what your brain's doing. So when you have someone who can't do something, neurons that fire together wire together. So if someone is trying by his physical mind alone to conquer something, it's awful difficult. And this leads us into the new paradigm. This leads us into quantum physics. This leads us into the divine. In order to change what you're doing physically, yes, you can do it by constantly rehearsing the habit over and over and over again by repetition. What's so much easier, and what I had to do to heal myself, is I had to go into the world of the unknown, as I call the divine, okay? And this is not a religious thing, by the way, okay? When Einstein said, energy's everything, and I don't get this other energy, how this all works. And he actually called it spooky science. Didn't want to touch it. And this is where the religious people came in. We got this. We got this. It's God. It's all this other stuff. Quantum physics said, not anymore. We now can measure the energy that is invisible, that's coming around us, that's in us. So going forward, we're going to go into another video. It's called metronomes. Mr. Hammer, you know what metronomes are? What are metronomes? It's the time to music. Would that be fair? Okay. So in order for me to cure myself, and I'm just saying I'm not going to live forever, because cell biology is, they even have these new things they can tell you how long you're going to live to until you change your thought. They used to think that. But in order for me to heal, okay, I needed to create coherency. In athletic terms, we call that playing in the zone. Anybody ever play in the zone? You're just locked in, okay? I'm at third base. I can remember this so well. And I ain't thinking about, later on, what I'm having for dinner, my taxes are due, whatever. I'm locked into this game that I'm playing in. And I'm at third base, and as you know, third base, maybe you don't know. I'm down low because you got to stay low to start and come back up. And this kid hits a rocket to my left, okay? And I was so focused on that ball that I dove, didn't realize exactly what I did, and I totally stretched out, apparently parallel to the ground, and made this catch. And I know at that point, I was so locked into that ball that was coming off that bat. The bench that I came back to said, how in the world did you do that? And I said, you're not going to believe this. I'm not saying this happened, but it felt like it happened, that the ball stopped in mid-flight and waited for me to get there. That's how locked in I was. Okay, you can say, come on. But if you understand the variable of time, you know that's not impossible. And we don't have time to get into the time sequence, okay? So that's kind of called being in the zone. So this is about coherency. You want to totally heal yourself? Get your heart and mind working together. Because when you're not in coherency, okay? When you're in coherency, well, we're going to see it, but Ryan, can you start this video? We're going to start out in total incoherency, okay? These are metronomes, and as Mike Hammer just said, musicians use it to time the beat of their music, okay? So I want you to pretend this is your body, or you can pretend this is your skill set of what you want to try to achieve in life, okay? This is called incoherency. This is what was happening to me. My brain was not producing the proper proteins to help me heal, okay? I want you to watch what happens as we continue through. It's 2 minutes, but if you can watch it, you'll be amazed of when coherency comes together. It's amazing how everything comes all together, okay? Anybody starting to notice anything? They're coming in sync? As this continues, I want you to watch this little guy right there. So this is your thoughts starting to match up with your beliefs, okay? You have a belief that you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to be healthy, when you're not believing what you're thinking, this is what that looks like. But as you're getting on board where your heart is leading the way and introducing your mind to it, this is what it starts looking like. Again, watch the little guy, the second one to the bottom of the right. What's he doing? This is your ego. I'm fighting. I'm not giving in. So everybody's caught up by now, except this dude. But you know what? Coherency wins out all the time. That's called alignment, okay? When you're aligned, coherency always wins out. What are you noticing about that one? He's starting to go, right? Thank you, Rye. when your thoughts and you're locked into a current moment and you've done the work to live in that state of mind that we call appreciation, okay? This is called being in the zone. When you're locked in, these are your best playing days right here. Those other ones, you're doubting yourself. I don't know if I should be here. I could have slept a little bit longer. That's what that incoherency is, okay? So not just health, but into what we're talking about, playing our best possible sport moment that we can possibly play. You're locked into that whole moment. When you can stay here, okay, you're in coherency. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. To get to this on a regular basis, the physical mind alone cannot do this. And I said you can do a lot of repetitions to force it into place, but it's the power of the unconscious mind, the invisible, that has to be portrayed now, okay? When you enter into the divine, this, what started out as incoherency, becomes coherent, okay? And when you live there, that's what I had to do to cure myself of what's going on with me. So far, so good? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to, not yet. Keep that there. That's fine. We're going to open this up to questions, okay? Because I want to get this done first, and then I want to lead you, like I said, into what I've been doing every day of my life now. And it got to the point where, okay, it's a struggle at first, absolutely. You're like, I can't control my monkey mind. You know, I'm not trained this way. I eventually got into it. And not only have I healed myself, become a better coach, a better trainer, okay? I don't want to miss a day now. And it makes all the difference in the world. Because on the other thing that I gave you, I give it? The 5 tools. Do you see the 5 tools there? This one here has Albert Einstein on it. They're the Red Ops 5 tools. So what we did is we kind of, you can't take the divine nature of who we are and bullet them, but we did the best we could, okay? So as you see there, where Albert Einstein is, okay, talks about energy. Energy it doesn't die. Energy is energy. Everything's made of energy, okay? Everybody, older folks, remember Ella Fitzgerald? Mike, you do, right? Mike, do you remember? Not to say you're old, Mike, but, okay. So there was a commercial that came on for Memorex, okay? And if, I say, this has a frequency, okay? This has a frequency. You have a frequency. Everything in this world has a frequency, and at the bottom of the frequency, it's invisible. It's energy. Okay, you gotta, yeah, this is real. Well, if you look further into it, it's not real. But I don't want to go there right now. That's too much for today. Okay? So, a goblet, a glass, is sitting there. Okay? That glass has atoms in the glass assembled a certain way. It has a frequency. And the atoms can only hold so much energy. So along comes, for the younger guys, Ella Fitzgerald's a singer, has a great voice, kind of like your Mariah Carey and whoever else sings that high pitch. So Ella comes in, and they're trying to do a commercial for Memorex. Is it live, Ella, or is it Memorex? Okay? So the idea was to sell the Memorex, that the sound was a Memorex sound that mimicked exactly what Ella Fitzgerald did. But as she sang and held a frequency, a note, anybody know what happened to the glass? It shattered. She didn't touch it. There was no wires to it. The reason it broke, okay, her frequency broke it, okay? She was able to take the physical world and change it. You have the same power. Those atoms in that glass can only hold so much frequency, so much energy. Her frequency shattered it. And that's a true story. That's not a made-up just storytelling thing. That is the power that you have. And that's why I'm telling you, and this is growing, by the way. This is the new science. The stuff they're teaching in the schools right now is outdated. It's wrong. And when you talk to someone who tries to change the curriculum, The answer is, do you know how much money that would cost? Okay, so let's just teach the kids the wrong thing. If we can keep you under our control and we don't give you your power back, you're going to fall into the same old mode of thinking that this is who you are, this is what you do, okay? And the big companies do not want this to happen. They can control you so much better if they keep you out of the power that you possess yourselves, okay? So these are the tools. When we go to vision, the vision is what we're going to do in the red ops. That's what I'm going to need you to do, and we're going to get real quiet in here. So if you really got to run to the bathroom real fast, go do it now. But if you can hang in there, okay, just make sure the cell phones are off, because I don't want to disturb where we're going with this. And I want to introduce you to the field that saved my life, okay? Inspired action. You saw the video up front. Talked about action. You got to have action. You got to take massive action. But not just massive action, we wanted inspired action. Okay? We want to be inspired when we do something, because when it gets tough, and it will get tough, okay, and you don't have the strong vision to go where you want to go, the discipline won't be there. I guarantee it. If you don't have a strong enough vision of where you want to go, you will not have the discipline. It's that simple. And if you don't have the discipline, you're not getting the reps in. You're not doing what you need to do to get to where you want to. I don't care if it's being a billionaire. I don't care if it's being a stud outfielder in Major League Baseball. Okay? I don't care if it's a concert pianist. Doesn't matter. If you don't have inspired action, that's what's driving you, okay, you will not have the discipline to get there. All right? Now, it doesn't mean that you have to have a total vision yet. And I would just say to that, until the total vision shows up, until it's downloaded to you, not that you're trying to force it to happen, until it's downloaded to you, you work on your feelings of what feels best here, what feels natural. Is he screaming his head? I want to go this. I don't want to deal with that nonsense. Okay, I don't want to get in that fight. All right, I gotta know where I'm going. Don't have to know the whole picture, but you got to start leaning towards the direction that you want to go. Okay. Contrast obstacle. We run this every day. But here's the difference. The obstacle, the contrast in your life is the spice of life, because without it, you can't become a better person. You can't make better decisions. You go into a buffet in a restaurant, okay? You have a selection, okay? You have contrast. You have the ability to choose. In our life out here, we run into what we call an obstacle, a pain in the butt, whatever it be, a situation that I don't like this. It's to teach us how to handle that situation. How do you handle the contrast? How do you handle an obstacle when it comes to you? You want the answer? You got to know it's all on purpose. It's getting you to think, come up higher, okay? That come up higher is that vision, okay? If you don't have that vision and you meet contrast, you're going to get sucked in, okay? So unless you're leading the charge for your own life and you're all responsible for our own lives, you're going to get sucked into somebody else's game plan, okay? So as we get through, and the way to know what contrast is, when you go into the red ops that we're going to do, you're going to visit that quietness. Maybe for the first time in your life. Maybe some of you have already meditated and kind of have an idea of what you're doing, but you need to find and receive that inspiration. Not that your mind's creating it, but it's being downloaded to you, okay? Allowing. Allowing is that last movie that we just saw, okay, with the metronomes. When you're there, you're allowing, okay? And we're gonna finish with a picture, a little video clip after that. But when you're allowing the divine to work through you, and you know it's on purpose, and you live in a steady diet of appreciation, joyfulness, passion, compassion. When you live in those higher frequencies, other frequencies outside you of the same frequency will find you. If you want to live in the lower frequencies of pain, addiction, depression, the same moving parts in this world that are of the same frequency are going to find you. How do we do the best we can? Because the old science says we are who we are. That's it. Can't change anything. Epigenetics says, yes, we can. We can get in front of our genes. That's the word epi. So whatever our DNA we think have been taught, we are who we are. No, we're not. We can change it. It's called the biology of belief. What do you believe about yourself? So when you're empowered with this information, you can change your life on a dime because you now have the information. All energy is information. That's it. They're the building blocks of life. And when you download this information, I hope by the end of today you come away with a different perspective of how you view circumstances in your life. That's my whole goal here. It has helped me become a better human being, it helped me become a better coach, a better instructor, and it's helped me heal my life. That's how important it is. So, as we're finishing off with allowing, we're going to allow our greatness. Okay, we're going to allow how good we can become. When you're where you're at right now, okay, let's take you're an athlete, and we got plenty of athletes in the room. You're where you're at right now, and you want to be somewhere else. You know what we call that in the mental health field? Schizophrenia. Anybody know what schizophrenia is? It's a mental health disorder, okay? You cannot accept your environment, okay? I want to change that way of thinking. If you have an aspiration that you want to achieve something, let's just pick a random thought. I want to be and Mike, you're kind of gravitating with this. I want to be a concert pianist. Mike's in the music field, that's why I use him. I want to be a concert pianist. Your thought about that is everything, okay? If you say, I'm here, and I'm not there, all you're doing is adding information into the field. This is what quantum physicists call the field. We call it red ops, whatever you want to call it, okay? Godly people call it God, okay? And I was just saying the other day, I don't care if you call it Uncle Charlie, it doesn't matter. The field exists. They call it the vortex, you call it the divine matrix, whatever you want to call it, it's real, okay? And this is where we got to tap into. And here's the secret, all right? When you have an ambition to be somewhere, you can initially say, that's a good goal. You really don't know what's inside. You may visually have a belief that that's where you want to go because that's what's in your environment right now. I want to be a concert pianist. Maybe somewhere else deep down inside you want to be something else, but that's what you're relating to right now. What you have to do is feel the feeling of that, not the fact that logically that's where you want to be, but see yourself there now. If you're not there, I need you to pretend. This is how feelings communicate with that field, okay? You need to see yourself on a pro mound somewhere. You need to see yourself as a concert pianist right now. You need to see yourself at the Boston Pops, okay? You need to see yourself running a chain of stores. Whatever you want to do, it comes down to that synchronization, that coherency. When you can get your heart lined up with your desire and you can put your mind to understand that desire, when those two are working together, you are an army. You are an army, and that is stronger than anything else, any politician, anything out of your environment. You are the strength of who you are. And don't let anybody ever tell you you're not, because you are it. This is all you have. I can't manifest in your life, and you can't manifest in my life. Only you can control your destiny. And it's not a in-your-face type of thing. You just need to know, take your power back. Take your power back. Be the person you want to be. But what I want to do is, now that we've talked about this, I'm going to like a question or questions that you have that maybe we didn't cover. Or does everything make sense? Or is everything, what the heck is he talking about? So anybody have a question that you can think of? It could be anything. Mr. Lawrence. Oh, first of all, Tim Loringer is a friend of mine. He teaches at a local charter school here. And if you note, I had to say, I forgot about this. If you notice on the banner, it talks about a movie, okay? Tim is the one that originally wrote the script after one of my friends like Jim told me I should talk about this, okay? So as he writing the script, okay, long story short, another guy comes out, is doing the trailer for the movie, for the script, and says, would you mind if we do a movie documentary on all this based on what you just overcame and what you went back for? This is a great 30 for 30 piece. I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it. So Tim is that person that much appreciative to for writing this story for me.
Kids, like younger athletes, no matter what you do, you got that inspired action. What I'm getting from that is, hey, I'm going from 7 and I'm getting down to 120. Right. The problem is, how do you know
What?
when the bad is going?
I'll do it. He just asked me a question. I'm sorry.
So how do you know when you go 70 to 120, hey, how do you know when to back off? I need to break.
Great. Awesome question.
Like, I'm getting like, hey, your measurements are accuracy. I don't know.
Tim, I knew you were going to be the one guy to get us into this. Is so important. So important. We talked about feelings, right? Okay. Do you know when a coach is screaming at you and when he really wants to help you? Do you kind of know the difference now? Is he really concerned about his team losing, or does he really want you to do better? Okay? You kind of have a feeling, right? You walk into a room. It's like, oh, this don't feel good. Anybody ever had that feeling? You feel uncomfortable? Someone talks to you and they come in your face. I don't feel comfortable, okay? You have a boundary you have a feeling about things, okay? Your feelings always lead you to where you want to go. Now, having said that, that doesn't mean that I feel like getting loaded. I'm going out, and that's not what I'm talking about, the feeling I'm talking about. You know when you run into an environmental situation that doesn't feel good, is it helping you find your dream? Is it helping you with your vision? If it isn't, and you're going in the wrong direction, you're wrong. This is how God helps us. This is our downloaded who we are. We work off of feelings. Okay, we know when someone's charitable. We know when someone's being rotten. Okay? Trust those feelings. Live in compassion. Okay? If the feeling is not supporting where you want to go, pull away from it. Don't dive into the argument. Okay? But take the next logical step to the feeling that feels better. So let's say, what's that one? Give me a word in yellow there. Give me a word in yellow. Boredom. You're bored. Okay. If you're bored, you can't jump up into compassion. It's too big of a leap. What's above boredom? What is it? Contentment. Reach for contentment. What's above contentment? Is it up behind me? Okay. All right. Hopefulness. Keep making the feeling that feels a little better. If you're overwhelmed with your day, go to sleep. If that's the only way you can stop that momentum, take a nap. Okay? But don't try to change this up to compassion and appreciation if you're feeling like crap. I'm not telling you to do that, okay? But I feel your way up until every day when you get up and you've got your inspired vision, and that, as in the video said, you hit the alarm clock and say, oh, are you going to wake up and say, oh, God? Or are you going to wake up and say, oh, God, I'm ready? Two totally different ways to say the same thing. So it's the whole program that works. But I will tell you, the way you communicate with the divine is through your feelings, okay? Reach for the higher feeling that you can get to. It may be, if you're in depression, people don't want to hear this, go for rage. At least you're releasing the energy. If you backed up so much, and it's so much is in you, get rid of it. Slam the pillow down, whatever you got to do. Reach for rage. Get the energy moving, okay? You're not going to reach for compassion at that point, but you can reach for the next logical step. And what do you do throughout your life? You stay in the higher rungs. And when you stay in the higher rungs, the lower rungs that you would normally run into at the lower frequencies cannot find you. That guy that's coming to rob your house, okay, and you're in the higher frequency, He'll get hit by a bus. Something will happen. It won't happen. Okay, it's a little dramatic though, but I got the point across. Something will happen. Okay, they'll have free Wawa coffee or something. I want to go there first. Okay, by that time you're back at the house, you can't rob your house. Okay? The drug addict that's on the street. Okay? Guess what? If you're in those lower fears, who do you think you're going to attract? The same fearful guy that's putting drugs in his arm and selling drugs. Okay? Doesn't mean they're not going to show up somewhere in your life, but it gives you a barrier. You have an energy field around you. Okay? And if you stay in the higher rungs of that, the lower rungs can't find you. It's not going to happen. It defies frequency. Okay? Your emotions, your feelings are a frequency. Okay? That's when you're in, when you get into beta. This is your everyday life. If you've done the divine work, and we're going to do that shortly, I keep talking about, when you've done that, you're going to change your brain chemistry. You're going to change it, no matter what's in there. When you come close to connecting with the divine, okay, it's automatically going to change your brain. It's going to change you to the higher rungs on that scale. Okay? Good enough? Okay. Great question, Tim. Is that hopefully answered? Okay, cool. Anybody else? Yeah. Nikolai Tesla, yes. Einstein didn't like him. Go ahead. Oh, give him? Oh, you're good.
Nikolai Tesla is. Okay, when he was young, he got very sick, and he actually had a dream as he was healing. And in that dream, he actually discovered alternating current. Back in the United States, Thomas Edison was developing DC, and he got his light bulb going, and Thomas Edison started producing all these power plants. But in order to transmit electricity, you need a power plant every 2 or 3 blocks. So it would be very dirty, a lot of pollutant, and more wires than you could imagine. Along comes Nikolai Tesla. His dream was to come to the United States, meet up with Edison, and get his idea of alternating energy together. Well, as that happened, Edison didn't like him at all, and it started a big feud. Eventually, he went and aligned himself with Westinghouse, and that's where they did the World's Fair, and he lit the World's Fair for the first time and won that contract to do that by using AC current that they were drawing off of Niagara Falls. It got to the point where he was so far advanced in his mind and understood frequencies that Westinghouse came to him and said, listen, I am getting barraged by Edison. They're trying to beat our business down. I can't afford to honor my contracts. So Tesla turned around and said, keep the contracts. I really don't care about the money. And he moved on to frequencies. And as he started moving on to frequencies, what he realized was that he discovered what we're using now for cell towers. And he was actually able to take and turn frequencies in where buildings could actually fall apart if he hit the frequency of a building. And his whole dream was to take energy and transport it from point A to point B. So from something to your house without wires, and actually be able to light your house up. And that's what he was working on when he actually died. And when he died, the government came in and took everything over. But my point is, the frequencies, that's what he was working on. Everything has a frequency. You have a frequency. Your mind thinks in frequencies. Whether you believe it or not, there's a frequency there, and you are kind of like a receptacle and a power plant. You put the frequency out, you bring the frequency back. So just wanted to kind of make that point.
Thanks, Jim. So just before we go into our Red Ops program, which I've asked you to do with me, remember, if you want to put it in physical reality, this is quantum physics. How many people let this thing go without charging it? What happens? It dies, right? So what do you do? I don't know. It depends on your habits. But at nighttime, this is getting plugged in for me. Some people close to that, plug it in at night when you go to sleep. Okay. And why do you do that? Is this important in your day? You need it, right? And we now know we kind of need them. But your brain works the same way. Why wouldn't you plug into this sense of oneness to create your day? Okay? So same thing with the remote control and TV. I can hold a remote here, change the channel. I'm not wired, But if that's Comcast and I'm on Verizon, that ain't working. It's on the wrong frequency. So even the physical world is responding. They understand how frequencies work. We are a frequency, okay? So without further, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to lead you in a little bit of a Red Ops training that I do for myself, okay? So what I need you to do is relax. All the phones are off. If you got a watch on or some type of something that, you know, has energy, can you take it off? Just put it on the table. That's fine. Relax. I need you to sit like straight in your chairs and feet flat on the floor. You can put your hands on your laps. You can cross your hands, whatever. And I just want to give you a taste, because we're running a little bit late. I want to give you a taste of where I believe the place that healed me, where I could not heal myself. Okay? Again, this is not a religious thing. Science says, religion doesn't have the corner on this anymore. This is science, okay? So if you can close your eyes for me. Keep them closed, Joey. All right. And I just want you to relax. A little more. Okay? You're going to have thoughts racing through your head. I got to pick up the groceries. I got to, you know, whatever. I got to get to work, whatever. Okay, bring Ryan a little bit down. Okay? Now, what I want you to do is just try to get your thoughts out of your brain. And by doing that, you're focusing on nothing. All right? Focus on nothing. I want you to become no one, no place, and no time. Okay? No place, no one, and no time. I want you just to totally relax. You have nothing to do today. I just need you for 15 minutes. We're just going to relax. Everyone can do that. Let your body relax. And as we enter into this divine matrix, where all healing begins, okay, we have to become nothing. We have to recognize who we really are and its energy. Now, your monkey mind may be still rolling, but just go with it. Go with it. Try to see the space between your eyes. Focus on the invisible space, the darkness between your eyes. Stay there. Focus on one point. Thought comes in, let it go. Another thought comes in, let it go. Relax. Keep focusing on that space. Um, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Okay. Stay in that space. Know that by doing it, you're pulling out of the physical world. You're reaching who you really are. This is where the power is at. Download it. Get connected to it. Draw to me, and I will draw near to you. And as you continue to quiet your mind, this vortex of intelligence will start taking you in. Surrender everything that you have, everything you know about yourself, everything you do, who you think you are, in the place that you do it, Just center yourself. Let the coherency of your heart start to kick in. Feel the nothingness. And as you get out of the physical, the divine starts to appear to you. Right now, your brain's creating different chemistry. Now, we would usually do longer, but because of shortness of time, I'm going to ask you where you're at right now. I want you to hold a thought, one thought in your mind that you would like to see tomorrow, the near future, the far future. Make it as visual and powerful as you possibly can. It could be for a better health situation, could be for a relationship, could be for a career, could be for money. See the vision. If you see yourself participating in something, see it. See it. You're playing guitar, see it. You're playing a sport, see yourself there. What feels really good to you about what you're visualizing? Take that thought, give it an emotion. Joy, excitement, a sense of power. Now, as you're giving that an emotion, I want you to feel it. Like something did happen in your life, and it's already done. What does that feel like? What does that feel like? And I need you to deep down feel it. Become emotionally tied to that feeling. No matter what it is. Stay there and milk that feeling. Milk it, milk it, milk it. The coherency of your heart is starting to come into alignment. Keep feeling that emotion over. No bad thoughts move in at this point. You're in control. You're totally in control. How you feel about this has already happened. In this divine matrix, whatever you're feeling, whatever thought you expressed, it's already done. Already done. Continue to feel it. It's done. And what we're going to do is allow that thing, that wish, that goal, that dream, to find us. And in order for that to find us, we created that in joy for most of us, maybe excitement. Now we're gonna feel appreciation for that. We're gonna feel joy for that. It's already been created, but it's been created in joy, in love, whatever feeling you attach to that, it's been created. See you already there. See yourself already there. The magic happens when you create it, the wisdom to know that it's already been done, and now that dream can find you where the emotion, where the feeling that you created it, when you begin to live in that feeling on an everyday basis, you're now matched up with the frequency of that dream, that goal, that feeling. So I just want you to remain quiet for a couple more minutes, and I want you to continue to feel. Continue to feel those feelings. Keep relaxing. Let it fill you. This is your time to enjoy something. Take it in for yourself. You deserve this. Okay, now on your own, if you're in a tranquil state right now, which you probably some of you are, stay there until you want to come out of it. The rest can open up your eyes whenever you feel that you want to do it. Or you can stay with that thought a little bit longer. Okay, and open your eyes for the ones that are still closed. Anybody feel a little different? How did it feel? Thumbs up? Okay. Were you empowered by what you were feeling or what you were visualizing? Okay. You are the creator of your life, your thoughts. Create that. We're going to end this now, and I would hope some of you could hang around and speak a few thoughts about today's show. I'm going to leave you with a powerful video that addresses everything that we just went through today. It's from a year or 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But I hold it, and when I ever run into a problem and I challenge myself, whether I can do it or not, I put this on. And you're going to see what inspired action looks like.
This morning, we're launching a new series called Today's Real Heroes. Our national correspondent, Natalie Morales, is here with an unforgettable pair. Natalie?
And it's a story you have to see to believe. Our real heroes today are Dick and Rick Hoyt, better known as Team Hoyt. And if you haven't heard of them yet, be prepared. They're almost legends in their own right, and you'll see right now why they are heroes to so many.
This is one of the greatest love stories of all time, a story of a father who climbs mountains and runs to the ends of the earth and back to give his son a better life, a life that transcends the limitations of his body.
Registration for the 25th Ironman continues one by one. Some faces we recognize. Here is 58-year-old Richard Holcomb, number 214, back for a second try. He's legally blind and it doesn't matter to him. No, the thing that must occur at all costs is this time, cross the line.
It's more than a race. It's a lifetime event that we'll remember for the rest of our lives. They're either going to carry me off the course or I'm going to cross the finish line.
The stories about people like Richard Holcomb pass through this world as Race Week moves toward this morning. Hey, did you hear about the man who is legally blind? People love to tell and love to hear the stories. Then, appearing near the start line, where they've been before, are father and son, Dick and Ricky Hoyt. There is no one here who hasn't heard about them, their story, and a human commitment that goes far beyond and far back.
January 10th, 1962. We knew there was something wrong, but we did not know exactly what. The doctor said, forget Rick. Put him away, put him in an institution. he's going to be nothing but a vegetable for the rest of his life. We cried a little bit. We talked, and we said, no, we're not going to put Rick away. We're going to bring Rick home and bring him up like any other child. We knew Rick was smart. We could tell by looking in his eyes. And when we talked to him, he was paying attention to what we were saying. So we wanted to get a computer built so Rick could communicate with us. Everybody came to our house that night for Rick to say his first words, and everybody was betting, what is the first words Rick is ever going to say? His mom saying, it's going to be hi, Mom, and me, the dad, saying, oh, it's going to be hi, Dad. Well, the Boston Bruins were going for the Stanley Cup, and the very first words Rick ever said was, go Bruins.
Dick is a military man, so he knows a thing or two about commitment. This time, he's just months removed from a heart attack. This gift that he gives to his son, or is it the other way around? Either way, it all started when Rick heard about a charity run for a paralyzed athlete. He asked Dad, and Dad said yes.
The gun went off, and we went off with all the other runners, and everybody thought that Rick and I would just go to the corner and turn around and come back. Well, we didn't. We finished the whole 5 miles, coming in next to last, but not last. And when we got home that night, Rick wrote on his computer, Dad, when I'm running, it feels like my disability disappears. So that was a very powerful message to me, that we finally found a sport that Rick could get involved in, just like everybody else. Rick is my motivator. He inspires me. To me, he's the one out there competing, and I'm just loaning him my arms and my legs so that he can compete. There's just something that gets into me when I'm out there competing with Rick that I can't explain it, and we're able to go faster. And it's just an unbelievable feeling. Rick and I love the Ironman triathlon. To be out there competing with the best triathletes in the world, to be accepted to compete along with these triathletes. Just to be out there on that pier with all the other triathletes and then waiting in the water for that cannon to go off, it was just so exciting. The feeling coming down the finish line at Leahy Drive, it's just an awesome experience. With the crowd there, all the excitement, the noise, and the announcers announcing, all that, your adrenaline just gets flowing.
I may be disabled, but I live a very fulfilling life. And if someone takes the time to get to know me, they will realize that I am no different than anyone else.
Here he is. He graduated from public high school. He's graduated from college. He's out there competing in road races and triathlons. He lives a happier life probably than 95% of the population. Rick would tell you that, if he was physically able to do something, that he'd probably play basketball or football or hockey. But then he always says, no, the first thing he'd do is have me sit down in his wheelchair and he'd push me. It really makes me feel good that he appreciates, what I'm trying to do to help him out, and he'd do the same thing for me. Our message is, yes, you can. You can do anything you want to do as long as you make up your mind. You can do it.
If you have ever searched for the meaning of life, stop. The answer lies right here. By the way, Ricky would want us to tell you, the Bruins look pretty good this year.
Run 950 races, 60 marathons, 6 Ironmans, all the way, Dick pulls, pushes, and carries Rick's 110-pound frame over the course of the 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and 26.2-mile run.
That's an inspired vision. That's just not action. That's inspired. So hopefully we've changed a little bit today. We became a little bit better person than we walked in. And I just want to thank everyone for being here, and I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks.